Welcome to Alchemy of the Dark Feminine with your host, Grayson Kahn. Today, I'm going to teach you guys how you're going to break free from the narcissist control, reclaim your soul, and set yourself free. Let's get into the narcissistic grip and how narcissists control you with their specific manipulation tactics, such as gaslighting, love bombing, and emotional abuse. Now, I'm going to share some stories with names used for my own protection, but just know that I have personally been through all of these, and I'm just not going to get into the specific names just for safety purposes. So let's go over the example of a narcissist's psychological hold on Sarah. So, for example, Sarah has been in a relationship with Jake, who displays classic narcissistic traits. Over time, Sarah starts noticing inconsistencies in his stories and behaviors, but when she tries to bring them up, Jake tells her she's quote-unquote overreacting or quote-unquote imagining things. He uses phrases like, "you're too sensitive," or "you're so sensitive," or "that never happened, you're remembering it wrong." This leads to Sarah doubting her own memory and perception of events, creating confusion and self-doubt. Gaslighting makes Sarah question her own sanity, weakening her ability to trust herself and her instincts. As a result, she becomes more dependent on Jake to tell her what's quote-unquote real, furthering his psychological control. Now, I also want to deep dive into the emotional control and the emotional hold that narcissists can have over individuals. Okay, so here's another example. So we're going to talk about love bombing, which is another manipulation tactic narcissists use to maintain control. So Rachel is in a relationship with Tom, who at the beginning showered her with love, compliments, and attention. He seemed like he was the perfect partner, constantly telling her she was quote-unquote the one, the most special person in his life, and he would never find anyone else like her. He made her feel important and desired, giving her a sense of security that she hadn't felt in previous relationships. So for a while, Rachel felt like she was living in a fairy tale. However, this early phase of intense affection and attention was part of Tom's love bombing, a tactic narcissists use to quickly win their victim's heart and create emotional dependency. This idealization stage made Rachel feel valued and wanted, and she began to attach her self-worth to the love and approval Tom gave her. So, we need to talk about how the psychological and emotional hold narcissists have, especially how it can make it incredibly difficult to leave or go no contact. They use these manipulation tactics to create a sense of dependency, emotional dependency, mental dependency, psychological dependency, financial dependency. Okay, so we're going to talk about how we can channel the Scorpio energy as a catalyst for transformation. Now, I want to go into how the ability to transform and rebirth from intense emotional situations, how one can do this. So, the way that I transformed and went through a massive rebirth, I would say actually I went through several massive rebirths. From these intense emotional situations from growing up in a narcissistic, abusive family system, was developing emotional intelligence. I had to learn what the different emotions meant and what they were trying to teach me from moment to moment. For example, every single time I was experiencing the emotion of anger, that anger was trying to show me as a friend, "Hey, Grayson, your boundaries are getting violated right now. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to continue allowing yourself to be treated like a doormat? Or are you going to actually stick up and defend yourself and say, hey, I'm not going to tolerate this any longer. You're not going to speak to me this way. You're not going to treat me this way. Speaking to me is a privilege and you do not have those privileges. Do you hear me?" Does that make sense? So every single time the different emotions show up for you, it's important to feel them in that moment, allow yourself to experience those emotions, and then make the conscious choice of what is the right next appropriate step for me. So in this case scenario, I feel like journaling helped me a lot. So anytime I felt angry in my restaurant job, or I felt jealousy, or I felt discouragement or disappointment, I sat down and I journaled what emotion I felt, why I felt it, and then I said, what is this emotion trying to teach me? What is this trying to show me? Okay, so this deeper desire for truth and emotional depth started coming up more and more and more, and got more and more intense. And that is what started cutting through the illusions that were created by the narcissists around me, which allowed me to reclaim my personal power. So I want to talk about how the truth and emotional depth does this. So first things first is the truth reconnects you to your authentic self. So narcissists feed off of the confusion and self-doubt that they create. And the need to understand what's real and who you truly are is going to act as an anchor in the midst of this chaos in your reality. So the truth acts as a form of emotional empowerment that helps you recognize the toxic patterns you've been living in. And by reclaiming your truth, it makes it harder for the narcissist to continue manipulating or controlling you. So when you start learning what the different emotions mean to you, and it's like they can no longer, this is what I want to say. Once you develop this level of emotional intelligence, they could no longer have that emotional hold on you any longer. Because you know what your emotions mean to you. You know what they're trying to teach you. You know what they're trying to show you. So with that being said, you start healing from all these different wounds and all of these different trauma layers that are in your energy and in your soul. And then eventually you get to a point where you can just see through their bullshit. You're like, oh, I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to emotionally manipulate me. You're trying to get an emotional reaction out of me. And you know that you've healed and you know that you've transformed when they can no longer do that. They no longer have that emotional stronghold over you, okay? So that leads me to point number 2. This deep desire for truth provides clarity. Narcissists thrive on confusion, so they want their victims to feel lost or unsure of themselves so that they can maintain control. Your deep desire for truth is going to push you to seek validation within rather than relying on the narcissist. The narcissist wants you to rely on them for external validation so they can continue their cycle of emotional abuse, psychological abuse, financial abuse, okay, all of the abuses. They want to have this grip over you like a freaking parasite, like a demonic energy. They just want to keep controlling and manipulating, siphoning your energy over and over and over, which leads to burnout, which leads to chronic fatigue syndrome, which leads to multiple health problems, mental and physical, emotional and psychological, okay? Like you're trying to break out of that cycle. So that deep desire for truth is going to push you to rely on yourself, to start trusting yourself and being like, whoa, wait a minute, like I've seen this pattern before. This isn't normal. This is very manipulative. Okay, you're going to start studying, gathering truth about their behavior and their unhealthy dynamics between the relationship. Okay, this is going to allow you to gain that clarity. This clarity makes it easier to see through their illusions and reject the false reality that they're trying to create. Like, I feel like the first time I noticed this with my mom, I was like, what the actual fuck? Like, this is crazy. I thought to myself, like, at first when I realized that she was a covert narcissist, I went through this first stage of denial where I said, no, there's no way that she's like this. There's no way that she's this kind of person because she's done this, and this. And the biggest reason for that, the biggest reason why I couldn't see the truth of the reality that she was a covert narcissist and that she didn't have my purest and highest intentions involved was because it was so painful to acknowledge that reality, that my own mother didn't want to see me flourish, didn't want to see me thrive, didn't want the best for me, actually ended up deeply hating me and resenting me because in her mind, in her world, it was, how is it that you've gone through the same things, if not more than me, and you're still flourishing, you're thriving, and you're doing a lot better than me? Fuck you, right? Like, that's the energy. And It's really hard and it's really painful, emotionally painful especially, to acknowledge that, because you feel this deep pain within your soul of your entire existence and your entire reason for living was just to be in pain and just to suffer, when that's not the truth. The truth is that you are abundant. You are meant to live in abundance. You are totally 100% worthy of your dream reality. You are 100% worthy of living a life of peace, harmony, and having healthy relationships, okay? That is the truth. So instead of feeling trapped in their narrative, you start to begin feeling grounded in your own sense of truth, which then in turn strengthens your ability to break free from their bullshit, all right? So yeah, I just really hope this podcast episode inspired you, shed light on newer truths about narcissistic relationships and the dark truth about them, and the deep psychological and emotional abuse that goes on within a narcissistic relationship and the other individual, and that you can break through. You can break free. You can reclaim your own autonomy and your sovereignty, as long as you have that deep desire for truth and that deep emotional depth of doing that emotional release work, developing emotional intelligence, which then leads to emotional resilience, which then leads to clarity, which then leads to finally releasing those shackles and breaking free. Finally, okay? Just know that you can do it. You've got this. I believe in you, and you can do anything, no matter what, all right? So no matter how hard life punches you and pushes you down, you can get back up, okay? There is growth that emerges from hardship, all right? There is an inner strength within everyone that everyone possesses. There is wisdom to be gained through the pain, and the choice that exists for everybody to embrace the journey toward a better version of you or not, okay? You can transform after emotional turmoil, and it's not only possible, but it is a natural part of the human experience, okay? And that empowers people to become more resilient, more authentic, and more connected to their own truth. I officially released my brand new book for the first time ever that took me almost over 2 years to finally create and publish, right? Like, it was so painful to write this book in the beginning because I just kept crying, and it was so cathartic that I was like, oh my God, am I ever going to publish this book? Am I ever going to be able to share my story of how I faced adversity in all aspects of my life, how I got out of a narcissistic family system, and how I started connecting to freedom in my reality? How the fuck did I break out of that, right? My book is called There Is No Energy More Powerful Than You. It is now available on Amazon as a paperback and Kindle edition as well, for those of you who like the ebook preference. So yeah, go give that a listen. Go read my book. It's only 30 pages, and I go through how I face adversity in all aspects of my life, and how I, like a phoenix, rose from the ashes, and I still flourished. I am still here. I broke free. I am living proof that you can break free from anything, because there truly is no energy more powerful than you. Okay? So go give that a read. Go give that a listen. Rate this podcast. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment on my channel. Go check out my YouTube video. I'm making a series about deep diving into the deep psychological patterns that narcissists use in order to keep controlling and manipulating you. And I'm going to talk about way more stuff, way more bold, intense subjects that are just way out there. So get prepared, get excited. It's about to get real. Shit's about to get real. So yeah, I love you guys so much, and I will see y'all in my next podcast episode. Bye for now.